Check one, check one. Hello, welcome to the fourth episode of the Decompression Chamber. Episode one, actually. So, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm your host, Mario. If you didn't know that already, then I'll be extremely surprised. Nevertheless, our opening quote is going to be from Greek philosopher Socrates, and he said this: "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." Roll the intro.
My steamer is broke. Fuck the bleach, I'm peak at the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur. My zen getting rolled at the turn of your words.
Yeah, so that's relevant in my life right now. Because that's kind of what's going on. To give it a little bit of context, a bit of the lay of the land, I've graduated uni. Well, I haven't done my official graduating cap and gown ceremony, but I'm done with it. I'm no longer a student. I've got my grades and stuff. I'll get my diploma, and now I'm just out into the real world, off the roadmap and into the great unknown. And the thing is that I sometimes view change as quite a scary thing, and that's including today, that's including yesterday, that's including the few days before and the few weeks before that and the few months before that. And the thing is that the way that I've viewed change has changed, just like anything, just like everything, really. Everything changes, and it's constant, and sometimes it's hard to know what kind of things to anchor yourself to, what kind of things to hold firm to, and for me, I've got a few things that I'm lucky that I can hold firm to. Just like this big pint glass here, this could be my glass of change. Thing is, I don't have to drink it all in one go. I can just take little sips, luckily. Something that I've been reassuring myself is that the future only comes one day at a time. And when that's the case, the future gets a little bit less intimidating. That's the thing about me. I'm not very good at planning my life in advance. I'm not very good. I've never had a calendar. Whenever I had a school planner, I just kind of barely cared about it. A lot of my organization relies on memory, Pretty much, if I've lost something, I try and remember where I last left it. A lot of remembering when things were due at university or at school was just kind of like stored in my memory banks, and I guess maybe I've always found it kind of scary to think far ahead, because the day by day struggle for me sometimes is just enough of a struggle as is. Say I've got something on Tuesday that I'm anxious about. I don't want to think about 4 weeks' time, because how many Tuesdays am I going to have? How many of that kind of day am I going to have to face in that time? That's essentially what it feels like. And so for me, it feels oftentimes easier, maybe not more practical, but easier for me mentally, less strain mentally, if I just try and take the day on, as it is, for what I see, and then take what comes next. And I think there are some benefits to that. Like, it allows me to kind of put more focus and more energy. Oh, sorry, that's unprofessional. More focus, more energy, and kind of more appreciation for each individual day. I'm able to kind of see the highs and the lows and really kind of extract some value out of that. But at the same time, like most practical things as an adult, you can't do everything on one day's notice. That's stuff in my career included. You can't make a film on one day's notice. Well, you can, but it won't be as good. Just like anything, the quality of what you make is a reflection of your preparation. The same reason I spent half an hour trying to get my tripod in the right position for this mirror, and to figure out that I could put a candle here, but I'd still need light over there. Thank you. £29,000 of student debt. That's what that did. Compare this to the first decompression chamber, and I can thank myself or something. But yeah, so change is coming fast. I've suddenly been spat out. I say suddenly, it's been very gradual, but I've been spat out of the final process of uni and kind of encountered the weird kind of barren land of uncertainty that comes afterwards. I know I'm not the only person in this position. If you're watching this, you might have experienced that, or you might be experiencing it in this moment, or you might be in the future. And it's easy for me to just blankly say it's all going to be okay, but from my personal experience, I have a belief that things work themselves out, and that people think that this kind of like massive like life transition is just going to happen on a knife's edge like that, but in reality it's gradual. Day by day you just kind of do the things you care about, and you spend time with the people you love, and you put focus on the things you put focus on. You're going to end up where you're meant to be, if you believe in that, or maybe you're going to end up where you weren't meant to be, and that will help you find where you were meant to be. It's all of these life processes are confusing, but they each give us some sort of lesson or some sort of learning. I've been lucky enough to, have a wonderful summer, and I've lucked myself into a job that I quite enjoy, and all of that stuff. And there's so many things I could point out to that I might use to quote unquote invalidate the other concerns about my life. But the reality is, it doesn't work like that. Just because you have good things going in your life doesn't mean you can't have bad ones, and vice versa. The light always comes with the dark, the good always comes with the bad, and I've been having a lot of conversations with people about various things, but one of the kind of things that I talked about with my friends recently, and with my girlfriend, shout out, you're the best. So I talked about how when I was younger, when I was like 16, I'd go to the gym and I'd like lift weights, and I'd try and eat more and eat protein, and eat chicken, all of this kind of stuff. And I thought, one day when I get to this kind of body type, I'll be happy about myself. I'll be happy about how I look. I'll be like happy with my skin, and I feel good about the way I look and the way my shape is, fundamentally the way my body is. But the reality is, I got to where I thought I wanted to be, and none of those feelings changed. I didn't feel better about myself in terms of my body image or my self-image. I didn't feel, fulfilled. I didn't feel none of that. It was just kind of like, okay, here we are. What's the next thing? And I think there's a danger in that about all of life. As amazing and as wonderful and as brilliant as my current relationship is, life-changing it is, it didn't make all of my problems go away. Like, I foolishly might have thought so a long time ago. Or, now that I've graduated uni and achieved academic success in my passion, again, that hasn't solved any of my problems. It's just kind of, it's a one door closed, one door open situation, and that's how life is going to be. And so the question that I circulate around in my head again and again and again is, how do I navigate these times? How do I navigate this part of my life where, I've got this kind of focus on this kind of thing and that kind of focus on that kind of thing? And the truth is, I'm going to address it the way I've been addressing all of my life, and every single part of my life is I'm just winging it. I'm just giving it a go. Like, there are very few realms in my life that I can confidently say, based on my experience, this is how things have gone, and this is how I want things to go, so I'm going to enact this plan. I can attribute that to filmmaking, to, how I want to be treated and how I want to treat people in my life. In general, kind of the idea of trying to pick up a hobby or learn a skill or gain a craft or, get into exercise. I can kind of name a couple of things that were helpful for me, but I could never say with confidence what that means for my future, what that means for what I'm going to do. And so what I'm left with is kind of like a hint system, where it feels like I've got some hints, but a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm always having to remind myself that I don't have to have everything figured out. I'm always reminding myself that it doesn't all have to make sense right now. And, this feeling of like danger or discomfort or discomfortability or some sort of feeling that's lodged in my upper stomach or my lower chest that feels tight and makes me feel unsafe, or makes me feel concerned, or makes me feel anxious, or makes me feel on edge. That feeling, to make that feeling go away, sometimes you don't have the concrete answer. Sometimes you don't have the exact thing that slashes right through it and makes it dissipate. Sometimes, I take 1 deep breath in, 2 deep breaths in through the nose, and exhale out of the mouth, and it just untightens that tiniest bit, that 0.1%. Yesterday I went to play basketball for the first time in a while, and I just felt that feeling just a little bit, just deflate. I called my girlfriend later that evening, and just us speaking on the phone made that feeling just a little bit. And those things can be some smaller sums to a greater effect. in the morning I go outside and I try and get sunlight in my eyes, develop the circadian rhythm and kickstart those neurochemicals, and I know that's good for me, but that's not a cure-all. That's not going to save me. Doing some stretches and some meditation, or writing in my journal, none of those things individually are ever going to solve all of my problems, or even necessarily solve any problem, but I guess I'm just trying to build a lifestyle that makes me feel more at ease. I'm trying to build a lifestyle that makes me more comfortable in myself, and maybe if I do that, I can outsource some of that discomfort to just bits of routine and discipline. That's just the kind of way things are going for me. Something that I know doesn't work is this kind of like overconsumption that I do on digital platforms. I'm going from YouTube to Reddit to Instagram, from YouTube to Reddit to Instagram. Oh, there's a link to this Twitter thread, and then I'm spending all this time consuming stuff. Maybe I hop over to Netflix or some illegal streaming site. Forgive me, I know. And that doesn't really work. Doesn't really do anything for me. Of course, I'm a filmmaker and a film student, and it's good for me to watch stuff and take it apart, but it's not good for me to be constantly polluting my brain with all this information, with all this content, with all this. And the thing is that I know this implicitly, and I even know this explicitly, because this isn't the first time I've said this kind of thing, and yet I still do it. And so maybe right here, right now, we could talk out a little plan. We could talk out what I could do to clamp down on this a little bit. Why do I do this? And I think the reality is that oftentimes it's a crutch for me for when I'm feeling mentally uncomfortable. It's easy to kind of blank out your emotions, blank out what the negative thoughts I'm thinking, and just scroll on Reddit, or go on Instagram and look at memes that people have sent me, or look at the memes I've sent people, go through my saved, whatever it is. And maybe I just need to be more, when I'm feeling this thing of discomfort, when I'm feeling this thing of like, oh, I don't want to think about that, or I don't want to feel that, maybe I just need to kind of sit with that and accept it, and make myself aware that this thing exists, but it doesn't control me. It doesn't, this thing being the feeling, or and so maybe that's something I can do. Just watch out for those things, and maybe try and replace that habit with a more positive habit. Whatever it is. I know, for example, in the summer, instead of scratching my mosquito bites, I would slap them, because it meant that you're less likely to, open up some blood vessels and risk infection. But I guess there's other alternatives, Like, I know for sure that what will make me feel more rewarded than a morning of scrolling on my phone for like 2-3 hours is going to play basketball. Even shooting like 100 shots, or making 100 shots, and then going back home, having a shower. That'll make me feel better. I listen to an audiobook or listen to some music. Maybe I need to pick up drawing and get back playing more guitar again, and all this kind of stuff. And so, again, I'm just speaking to the crowd right now, because that's a little bit what I need. And I remember when it got to like January, I kind of made this little like manifesto for myself. And no, it's not a manifesto for violence or for political change. It was just kind of a self-improvement, self-change, self-mastery perhaps manifesto. And safe to say, I don't really think I attained to it that much. I don't think I did everything that I meant to on that manifesto. However, the fact that I wrote stuff down, and I was thinking about my priorities, and thinking about my future, and thinking about the way I wanted my life to be, inevitably, I think it pushed me in a better direction. These are all things that just kind of fell into place over time, but I made a project that ended up being the thing I'm most proud of. I just felt very like safe and included and like at home with all the people in my life, and was able to nurture and strengthen my relationship with others in my life, and I was able to find a job that's working out really well for me in the sector that I want to be working in, which is a lot of it was pure luck, but then again it calls into question whether these acts of manifestation there's anything to that or not. I don't really believe in godly powers or the metaphysical, but I think there is this kind of, like, I do have some sort of belief in karma, or some sort of belief in what goes around comes around. And I think it's just as fundamental as those who try and do good for others and try and do good for themselves will eventually attain it. And those who try and harm others and harm themselves will eventually attain that. And so I think as long as I'm willing to try and do good for myself, try and do good for others, it doesn't matter if there's ups and downs in that journey, but if that overall trend is up, then I can be proud of myself, there are some times where I'll be in a real good routine of exercise, and one day it just comes and I just say, fuck it, I don't want to exercise today. And it's okay to do that for one day, but if I want to keep that overall routine, I just kind of stay steady. And for example, I'm quite freelance with my work right now, so if there's a day where I'm just like, I really don't have the energy, I can do that. But if I put it off for a whole week, then, inevitably it's going to get me in shit. Just like many of these things, you have to apply effort, you have to apply considerate, consistent care to what you want in your life. And so I guess this season will be an exploration, a journey into what that might be for me. Maybe this setup shows you that I'm trying at least one step further than what I did before. Maybe I'll be doing different multimedia stuff. I'll hopefully be having more guests, and maybe I will just kind of take a more oblique approach. Maybe there will be more than just me standing here talking on a microphone, or maybe there won't be. But that's the journey we can take together. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, I know my life is good. I feel my life is good. I am happy. I do experience a lot of happiness, but I also experience a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and a lot of difficulty over minor things. And it's not like these are obstacles to my happiness. It's hard to know whether there are any obstacles to happiness other than yourself. But I guess what I can say for sure is that there are ways in which I can kind of better spend my time so that I'm more focused on my priorities. There are ways that I can kind of give myself a little bit of a kick, or other people can give me a bit of a kick, as has been done before, and I can propel myself into the next stage of being. It's hard to say exactly what that might be. I don't even know what tomorrow is going to look like exactly for me. But I know one thing. I know that I'll go to sleep. Well, I don't even know this for certain, so maybe I don't know anything. But I know this for pretty sure, that I'll go to sleep tonight and I'll wake up and I'll be grateful that I was awake. I'll be grateful for the clarity of breath and for my ability to get up and walk downstairs and make myself a cup of tea unassisted. I'll just be glad to be where I am, because I think that's a fundamental, foundation of my happiness, is being glad for where I am, being glad for who I have in my life and what I have, and trying to find a way to be appreciative of every moment, even if it's a difficult one, even if it's a stressful one, even if it's an anxious one. You don't get any of them back. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today. What's love? Should I do ears, Sam, or now?
I think. Yeah, actually, wait. First of all.